Thousands were tortured and executed here. It's empty now. Before the war, some prisoners were released, many more believed murdered. We came back with a survivor, Subi Haddad, a writer jailed because his words offended Saddam.
They just put my legs on a piece of wood and they began to beat my feet for 40 times. And till I fainted. The sound of bullets now reminds me of my companions who were being taken from this place for execution. We were always listening to the sound of bullets.
Outside, we met the prison dentist. Even his relatives had gone missing here. He searched for a piece of paper with a name, a date, an execution order.
I don't know about them anything. Where they go?
They've just vanished.
Yes, yes.
Every corridor reveals another layer of Iraq's nightmare. Here, cells where men and women were brutalized. Electrocution, beatings, rape, all the weaponry of terror. Before fleeing, the jailers tried to burn their files, a desperate attempt at covering up. But here in the heart of Abu Ghraib, hidden from the world for years, Saddam's execution ground. The gallows where the nameless thousands vanished.
Why did they go? Why? Simply because they had a different viewpoint with the ruler? Is this a reason to lose one's life?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
God. It's terrible.
Yet Subi Haddad told me he forgave his torturers. In a country of nightmares, a glimpse of humanity. Fergal Keane, BBC News, Abu Ghraib prison.
It's exactly 4 weeks since the war began in Iraq, but the search for weapons of mass destruction and for Saddam Hussein have so far proved fruitless. David Shukman reports on the unanswered questions.
In military terms, the coalition campaign has been an obvious success and quicker than many commanders had dared to hope. But two awkward questions remain. First, where is Saddam?
These pictures, released today, apparently show one of his hiding places. On his desk, this rubber stamp certainly bears the presidential seal. Beside it, there's evidence of last-minute planning for the city's defense. The uniforms left behind carry shoulder badges of the highest military rank. You can see in this footage, only Saddam's uniform has these badges. But the trail goes cold from here, so many Iraqis may worry that Saddam may someday come back. The coalition, though, says he's finished.
Whether we have killed Saddam Hussein or not, it'll just take us a while to figure out. But I believe the Iraqi people are absolutely certain that this country has been liberated, that there are coalition forces that are slowly going through the process of rooting out whoever are the remnants.
But no certainty about Saddam, nor about the other big question, where are the weapons of mass destruction, the official reason for the war? 1 month on, there's no trace of them.
Today, the Americans very deliberately drove captured Iraqi missiles past the Media Hotel in Baghdad. These Al-Samud missiles are banned by the UN, though the Iraqis had been in the process of destroying them, so not really a smoking gun. The man commanding British forces in the Gulf insists the intelligence is solid, that the weapons in time will be found.
They're there, the research programs, the records, some of the materials, they're there, but they need forensic examination to find them, piece them all together, and that's what we're doing. Could be a long job, but, you know, they're there.
Today, a factory making bullets was blown up. The Americans and British are really after chemical and biological material. But if they find it, who'll believe them? The chief UN inspector thinks he has more credibility.
It's a different thing if you have a UN organization that was there and had the confidence of the Security Council, and I think that we had a credibility in the whole world.
So the military struggle may be over, but political battles are still underway, which means the campaign as a whole is yet to be won.
David Shukman there, and we could talk now to Ben Brown in Baghdad. Ben, those questions about the whereabouts of Saddam Hussein, of the weapons of mass destruction, are those questions being asked by the people in Baghdad?
Well, certainly they're asking about Saddam Hussein. I'm not sure they're very interested in weapons of mass destruction. A lot of people here don't think there ever were any. But Saddam Hussein was a man who, of course, dominated their lives for many years. And people keep coming up to me and saying, where is he? Is he dead? Is he alive? People come up with rumors saying they're sure he's in Syria, they're sure he's in Russia. But what they're talking about much more than any of that is where is their water, where is their electricity, where's their power, where's the law and order here? Those are the things that are really preoccupying them, and they're mounting daily demonstrations outside our hotel here to complain about the way the Americans are running things here. They're absolutely furious.
Well, Ben, I was going to ask you, you've been there since the start of the war, you're preparing to leave now. What's your view on the progress of the peace and the situation of the people there now?
Well, I think my first memory actually, before it all began, was being shown the battle plans by the British general in charge of UK forces. It seemed a very well-organised, well-timetabled battle plan, and as it turned out, that's pretty much how it went, despite a few ups and downs. But then when we got here to Baghdad, after the Americans took Baghdad, there seemed to be no plan at all for the peace as opposed to the war. And that's how it's turned out for the last few days, really, just making it up as they go along, the Americans. No plan for how to deal with this orgy of looting or the absence of power and really there still isn't any kind of interim administration here. So people really are furious, and if there was an American honeymoon at all in Baghdad after they said they liberated the people here, then that honeymoon is over.
Okay, Ben Brown, thanks very much. Still to come on tonight's programme.
Range, sending 2 darts linked by wire, immobilising the suspect for a few seconds with a 50,000-volt electric shock. Officers shot by taser as training claim it's highly effective.
It was extremely severe. It went through my back and down my legs. I certainly wouldn't want to have it again.
The importer who's brought the stun gun to the UK demonstrated. But when the taser switched off, the pain stops, leaving 2 small marks. In the US, tasers have halved the number of people shot by police. Here, a man threatens officers in Arizona. They fire a taser, disabling him long enough to handcuff him. In the past, they might have used a real gun. Police hope the taser will cut deaths in the UK too.
This is a less lethal option to conventional firearms and enables us to resolve more situations safely and without recourse to lethal force.
Oh, please stand still! Oh, please stand still! Taser, taser!
All this is being driven by new human rights laws, which make it increasingly difficult for the police to justify using firearms. Now, the taser doesn't mean an end to real guns, and it still brings risks of its own.
If this was a drug, this would never be released at the moment onto the streets because it hasn't been adequately tested. We don't know the long-term medical effects, and we need to find these out before this is even considered to be used widely amongst the UK public.
Hey, come on! Come on! Down!
But pilots are to start in earnest. Fully trained firearms officers in 5 forces will be able to use the taser out on the streets from Monday. Margaret Gilmore, BBC News, Northampton.
Thousands of travellers hoping to get away for Easter have been...
Scotland did not have a parliament. Then 4 years ago, the new Scottish Parliament began to meet here at New College. So in the great scheme of things, these are early days to judge this young institution. At the outset, people's expectations were high. They're more realistic now. There's even some disillusion. But only 1 in 10 Scots wants to turn the clock back. And if anything, they want the Parliament to have more powers, not less. They may not have managed to finish their expensive new building, but the Parliament and the government here, the Scottish Executive, have made an impact. In 4 years, they've passed 62 bills and a host of other measures, and many, like student funding, have increased the difference between Scotland and the rest of the UK. Scottish students don't pay tuition fees until they start earning, and they pay less than their counterparts in England. That's fine for students, but the worry is if universities in the south are able to charge top-up fees, Scottish universities could lose out.
It's quite a dangerous situation that we're looking at, having England and Scotland competing with each other, English universities competing with Scottish universities, and simply because of funding, the Scottish university is already being outdone.
It's a similar story with long-term care, a more generous solution in Scotland. Elderly people, even the better off, have their personal care paid by the government. But again, not everyone's happy. Nursing home owners say there simply isn't the funding to make the system work.
There's 2 or 3 homes closing every week, and this has a very terrible effect on the clients concerned, let alone the businesses. And the Scottish Executive is going to have to look to its funding.
And they've pumped more money into the NHS, as well as launching a major reorganisation. Some of the investment shows, like this new wing at Glasgow Royal Infirmary. But has all this extra money produced the necessary results?
The number of staff has gone up. There are about 13% more consultants than there were in 1998. But the total amount of activity hasn't kept pace with that. In the 1990s, it was going up by about 1% in our hospitals. Now it's plateaued, and in some areas it's even fallen slightly.
The government in Scotland, under Labour and the Liberal Democrats, has adopted a different approach to public services. They have rejected any idea of using the market to drive up standards. Instead, they've engaged closely with professions like doctors and teachers. The big unanswered question is, will it work? Neil Dixon, BBC News, Edinburgh.
Tributes have been paid to the American-born